Hi everyone, we're going to use the distance formula to find the length of a line segment, and then we're going to find distances between places. So we'll get started with this one just so you can get the hang of it. First of all, here's the distance formula, and we have index numbers x sub 2, x sub 1. That's called x sub 2, subscript, x sub 1. So I'm going to call A point 1 and B point 2. So point 1 is your x1, y sub 1. And then point 2 is your x sub 2, y sub 2. And then we merely plug everything in the formula. So your distance is your x sub 2 is your point 2. So it's going to be 2 minus x sub 1, which is 10, square it, plus y sub 2 is negative 3, plus 5, which is your y sub 1. Okay, then we just merely solve this. You take care of the inside first. That's negative 8 squared plus 2 squared. So you get the square root of 64 plus 4, which equals the square root of 68. Now if we can see if we can simplify that. I think 4 goes into 68. Let's see. 1 time 4, 28. So 17 times. 17 times 4. So I can reduce this as 4 times 17. And that's going to be square root of 4 times the square root of 17, which equals 2 square root of 17. Okay, the next ones are going to go a little faster. And what we're going to do first is we're going to find distances between areas. So if I take, I want to find this distance from City Hall to the school. That's supposed to be a straight line. I'm going to call this one point 1 and this point 2. So I'm going to use this for my x sub 2, y sub 2, and I'm going to use this point for x sub 1, y sub 1. So your distance equals the square root of 2 minus a negative 4 squared plus, then we do y sub 2, which is 4, 4 minus 3. And you simplify. 2 minus a negative 4 is just 6. Whoops. 6 squared. Whoops, I forgot the square there. Plus 1 squared. So that's going to be 12 plus 1. So it's just square root of 13. And we can't simplify that. Okay, the next one, we're going to do the school to the library. And I'll call this point 1 and this point 2. So this would be x sub 2, y sub 2, and this one would be x sub 1, y sub 1. All right, so it doesn't matter which order as long as you do it are consistent with it. So we're going to take negative 2 minus 2 squared plus 6 minus 4 squared. That equals the square root of negative 4 squared plus 2 squared, which equals 16 squared plus, no, not 16 squared, just 16 plus 4, which equals the square root of 20. We can simplify that with our perfect squares. This is 4 times 5. So that's going to equal 2. You take that out. Square root of 4 is 2. And the 5 remains inside the radical. The next one is we're going to go to the library to City Park. Call this point 1. And call this one point 2. Why did I do that? All right. So this is 2. And we'll use the distance formula. So our D equals -2 minus 6 squared plus -6 minus a -2 squared. I'm going to simplify that, and we get -8 squared. 2 negatives make a positive, so that's going to be -4 squared. All right. So this equals 64 plus 16, which equals 1080. And you can simplify that as 16 times 5. You use your perfect squares, so that's the square root of 16 times the square root of 5. So that gives you 4 square root of 5. Next one, we're going from City Park to City Hall. And I'll just call this point 2, call this one point 1. And I'm taking shortcuts now since we're doing a lot. So I'm going to do my x's first. -2 minus a -4 squared plus -6 minus 3 squared. This equals, this is a plus, so -2 plus 4 is 2 squared plus -9 squared, which equals the square root of 4 plus 81, which equals the square root of 85. And we can't simplify that. Okay, we got 2 more. If you get the hang of this, you can probably stop or try to do some on your own. We're going to go to City Hall to the library. Again, this is supposed to be a straight line. All right, acts like that's a straight line. I'll call this point 1 and this one point 2. So your distance is, we take point 2 first, 6 minus a -4 squared plus -2 minus 3 squared. So that gives us 10 squared plus -5 squared. This gives you square root of 100 plus 25. So we have the square root of 125. Whoops. 125. And we can simplify that by saying this is 25 times 5. So that's going to be 5 square root of 5. And the last one, the school to City Park. So you have the school to City Park. So I'll call this point 1 and point 2. It doesn't matter. You can reverse them if you want. You'll still get the same answer. Here's square root. So I'm going to take -2 minus 2 squared plus -6 minus 4 squared. So we have square root of -4 squared plus -10 squared. This equals the square root of 16 plus 100, which equals the square root of 116. Now I know 4 divides this, so let's see what 4 does. So 4 goes into that 2 times, so that's 8, 36, so 9. So this can be reduced as square root of 4 times your remainder 29. All right. So this is going to be 2 square root of 29. And that's your final answer. If you need to get the approximate values, you just simply put this, or you could actually put this in your calculator. That's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.